According to elevated cognition, when a man betrays a woman, he shifts position from protector to perpetrator. So he's no longer her source of safety, but her greatest source of pain. Instead of him shielding her from being wounded by this wild world, he wounds her from within. Men sometimes think their only job is to protect her from others, but they fail to understand that the darkness that can be inflicted from their own ego and consciousness, and nothing wounds a woman deeper than being harmed by the hands that hold her heart. I went to workshop in an SLA meeting, 12-step meeting. Sorry, it doesn't matter what fellowship. In a 12-step meeting, and I was thinking about giving credit to God versus letting others take my credit and blame, and giving the blame to God rather than letting others blame me, because God could manage all the previous lifetimes. I don't have to worry who I used to be. And also in terms of myself, like as savage as sweet, as unruly as submissive. But with playing the victim, it's not taking accountability. It's checking out, jumping to conclusions. And the blockage to receive love is from the mother, the intimidation, coercion, manipulation, deprival, shame, and guilt, and triangulation. But, God saved me, got me through, gave me hope, strengthened and prepared me. And when you think of the personal masculine, you think of your personal other, it's an intimacy forever in any man, because it's in any man you deal with, you hold it. Versus being in denial where you need a scapegoat, a good one, a bad one. There's, the tools, like no contact, to be able to love oneself. So I was thinking about with my father shaming my hunger, my mother, he was shamed for his, my father was shamed by my mother, like for his hunger, his desire. And then he replaced her with like novelty. And I'm thinking of this repressed rage, this public humiliated kind of quality, and how it went through with my parents, and something that I'm still sort of like trying to get rid of. And then I found on Instagram all about emotionally immature parents, that mature parents make their children feel like that they enjoy engaging with them, and it's fine to talk about emotional issues. But these parents, which have a lively, balanced emotional life and are usually consistent in their attentiveness and interest toward their children, they're emotionally dependable, versus the emotionally immature parents, who are self-preoccupied, that they don't notice their children's inner experiences and discount the feelings and discount emotional intimacy, and are even uncomfortable with their own emotional needs. So they have no idea how to support at an emotional level. They may even become nervous or angry if their children get upset, punishing them instead of comforting them. And these reactions shut down the children's instinctive urge to reach out, closing the door to emotional contact. As a child, someone may have thought feeling empty and alone was their own private, strange experience, but something that made them different from others, with no way of knowing that the hollow feeling is actually a normal, universal response to lacking adequate human companionship. This idea of emotional loneliness, being on the receiving end of another person's sympathetic interest in what you're feeling. This type of loneliness, when you don't have that, that's the cure, basically. What I just said, the cure is to be on the receiving end of another person's sympathetic interest in what you're feeling. This type of loneliness is not odd or senseless feeling. It's the predictable result of growing up without sufficient empathy from others. And I was thinking about for myself, when I embody Teshuvah, all the polarity collapses when I am returning to myself. So I become my own fire. I am able, I will adapt, I can, I am worthy, I deserve it. And David Whyte says, we shape ourselves to fit this world, and by the world are shaped again. And on Instagram, there's an account called Real Terry Real. And it's about how there's no redeeming value in harshness. There's nothing harshness does that loving firmness doesn't do better. Say it kindly, say it like you're on my side, and I'll listen. Say it with contempt when we're taking a break. Full respect living is stepping off the contempt conveyor belt. If it's contemptuous, it's toxic. Take a breath and find a way to tell your truth to yourself, to another, with kindness. And in mesilat Yesharim, before we continue with the 12-step meaning, in mesilat Yesharim we learn, which is the path of the righteous by the ramchal, zeal has two divisions: one, to initiate, and two, to sustain. When there's a will, there's a way. And this is chapter 7. And when we replace avoidance with proactivity, it will bring protective clarity and give immunity from the heaviness of the gravity, and energizes us to not get stuck and fall. And gratitude can actually bring about the willingness to act if sometimes you don't have the will. When there's a will, there's a way. I want to continue with a different Instagram account, which is Ivan Heals. The divine feminine in relationship never makes mistakes. And we're going to do the masculine and the feminine. So the feminine, rage is the nervous system releasing years of suppression where her voice wasn't safe. Tears is the overflow of emotion when logic cannot hold what her body remembers. Testing him is her subconscious search for his safety, strength, and ability to lead. Clinging is the nervous system signaling fear of abandonment or not being chosen. Withdrawing is the strategy to protect the heart when trust has been broken. Nagging is the cry for presence when she feels unseen or unheard. Overgiving is learned pattern to secure love by sacrificing one's own needs. And criticism is projecting of acknowledged parts of herself onto him. Disinterest in intimacy is a signal she doesn't feel emotionally safe or desired. Anxiety from the divine feminine is a body bracing for the drop when she doesn't trust his frame. And needing reassurance is the nervous system regulating through connection to his presence. Collapsing into him is longing to feel held because she doesn't trust her own strength yet. Withholding love is protection strategy when she feels unsafe to fully surrender. Hyper-independence is the shield built from past betrayal, masking her deep desire to be loved. Shutting down is the nervous system numbing when her emotions feel too big to hold. Comparing is the signal she hasn't anchored into her own worth and radiance. Control is the subconscious attempt to hold the masculine pole when she doesn't trust his leadership. And now with the masculine, divine masculine relationship never makes mistakes. Shutting down in conflict is the nervous system moving into freeze, protecting from emotions he has not yet learned to hold. Exploding in anger is the fight response, signaling unprocessed grief or fear beneath the surface. Going silent is the subconscious belief his voice will not matter or will make things worse. Overworking is escaping from intimacy when presence feels unsafe or overwhelming. Withdrawing from her is the nervous system conserving energy when leadership feels too heavy. People-pleasing is the strategy to keep the peace rooted in fear of rejection or abandonment. Avoiding decisions is a fear of leading wrong, rooted in earlier shame of getting it wrong. Numbing, whether it's alcohol, distraction, or, God forbid, pornography, the nervous system reaches for false safety instead of deeper intimacy. Jealousy is the signal that he has not anchored into his own worth, and judgment of her is a projection of the parts of himself he hasn't yet owned or accepted. Not pursuing her is the nervous system shutting down when he doesn't feel grounded in purpose. Chasing external validation is a signal of disconnection from his own inner authority. Struggling with intimacy is a protection strategy from the vulnerability of being truly seen. Collapsing in arguments is the replay of subconscious subconscious programming, not fear, subconscious programming that equates conflict with danger. Micromanaging and controlling is the subconscious fear he'll be dropped if he doesn't. Disconnection from purpose is the soul's nudge, his leadership, the disconnection from purpose is the soul nudging him that his leadership is performative, not embodied. And when he struggles to express love, it's his nervous system remembering when emotions were not safe to feel. And we'll end with, toxic versus abusive. So this is from the Instagram account, I Go to Therapy. Toxic relationships are chaos patterns of negative or unhelpful communication or behavior, or high levels of mutual conflict on both sides. For example, frequent arguments or passive aggressiveness. It's rooted in immaturity, attachment triggers, insecurity, communication issues, and it looks like two people bringing out the worst qualities in each other. It feels chaotic and draining. It's an emotional roller coaster. Versus abusive relationship is a cycle of love bombing, tension building, and an incident, which leads to the cycle again. One controls the dynamic, even though the victim may be pushed far enough to lash out. It's rooted in power, control, entitlement, coercion, need to maintain superiority, and manipulation. It looks like one controlling and one reacting or keeping the peace. It feels scary, fundamentally destabilizing or isolating, with occasional good times that make it hard to leave. Now let's talk about the cycle of abuse. The cycle of abuse is when there's calm, right? Then the abuser builds tension, fear, stress. The target may try to placate or provoke to end the tension. And then there's an abuse incident, physical, emotional, verbal, which comes to reconciliation, apologies, excuses, or gaslighting, blaming you. It could also look like love bombing or grand gestures without any real accountability. And then we look at toxic relationships, they could be harmful, stemming from unhealed wounds, unmet needs, emotional immaturity, and can escalate into abuse, while abusive relationships involve using fear, manipulation, and harm. Could be physiological, financial, whatever, in order to control the other. Abuse is not a communication problem. It's a dynamic that's rooted in power and control and harm. Reacting to abuse after you've been pushed too far does not mean it's mutual or that you're toxic and abusive, but that you're a human that's trying to survive. And we'll stop here. It's a lot, and wish everybody to be healthy and to have no toxicity. All the best. Bye.